When I was making the previous video, just right up there, I wanted to mention something else I forgot, and that is there's this famous author. She's deceased now. Her name was Ayn Rand, and Ayn Rand, she escaped the communist revolution in Russia. Her family was wealthy, and they had all their belongings taken by the communists, by the Marxists. I prefer to use the word Marxism because I think it much better explains the form of communism. Communism is too broad of a term, and I think the Marxists actually started getting people to use the word communism to sort of take the spotlight off of the idea that these philosophies mostly came from this one so-called economist named Karl Marx. Basically, he was a rebel rouser, but it had something against other people making money, or making a good living, or being productive citizens. But anyhow, Karl Marx put this philosophy forward, and then that philosophy got adopted by political parties, and they had what was called the Communist Revolution in Russia back in the early 1900s. And anyhow, Ayn Rand got away from there and came to the United States. And so in communist or Marxism, there was a lot of people who were kind of adopting this idea of Marxist or communist utopia, which does not work. It's a terrible idea. Lots of people die every time. Like millions of people die every time somebody comes along and thinks that they're going to implement Marxism. But so Ayn Rand, she was obviously felt the brunt of this, and it came to the United States, and she was a philosopher, and she had this philosophy called objectivism, and she wrote these really great novels. She wrote some nonfiction too, but she wrote one, there was one called The Fountainhead, and there's some others, and the Fountainhead's very famous, but probably Atlas Shrugged is probably the most famous of her works, and it is a fantastic book to read. It's just such a great book to read, but it's one of those books you want to read when you get a little bit older. It's because it's kind of complicated and it's a little bit scary, but she kind of took the polar opposite view of the Marxist utopianism, and she kind of made like this capitalistic utopianism, and neither one of those are right. The extremes in life do not work really very often. So her vision in this book called Atlas Shrugged is a wonderful book of philosophy and idealism, but it is a fiction. It's a work of fiction, and it's very flawed in and of itself. But if you can read it from the viewpoint of where she was coming from, it is a fantastic book, both from an entertainment point of view, but also from a thought-provoking point of view. And one of the great things she does in Atlas Shrugged is she very well explains how the Marxists start to infiltrate a society in the minds of people. And that part of the book is probably the most valuable part of the book in terms of what it left for humanity, was the way that she very well, in this work of fiction, explains how Marxists win over the minds, they infiltrate the minds of a citizenry, of a society, and then basically everything turns really bad, which it does. But why I wanted to mention that is because in her Atlas Shrugged, there's several main characters, but this one main character called John Galt. John Galt is this person who is this philosopher and genius and very productive human being, who, in this story where Marxism starts to come and take over society based in the United States, he withdraws from society, and he goes off, and he starts to create this underground group of free market objectivist thinkers who are going to create their own capitalist kind of utopia society in the mountains of Colorado is actually where it's set, and that's why I wanted to mention it, because it's the kind of the ending of the book is in where everybody's kind of going to be able to have a free society outside of the Marxist is to a place called Galt's Gulch. So a gulch, like over here, and so they build this community like down here, and like in Silverton, and they have this very productive society where everybody kind of gets to live based on their own abilities and sort of a meritocracy. That's again not how the world works. You got to have a lot of give and take in the world, but Marxism definitely doesn't work. So it's a fantastic book, but I think it's standing here and looking at why did she choose a place like this to be the to really be the place, and you can see why. I mean, it's just, you're here, you're on your own, like especially back when she wrote the book, the book being set back in the mid 1900s, or maybe even set a little bit before then, and how people would have to be so independent and so much reliant on themselves, and they would have to find out ways to work together and to be productive together. And it's beauty, but it's rugged, So anyhow, someday maybe you'll read Atlas Shrugged, but it's one of the most printed novels, and certainly of the 20th century. But it's probably in the top. I don't know. It's probably in the top. It wouldn't surprise me if it's in the top 20 printed books of all time. It may not be that. I think it probably is, but it's definitely just a magnificent book. The audio version of it's very good too. So I love you.